Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Now, following my last video about Ubuntu 24.04, Fedora has popped up as a recommendation, and I have done a Fedora installation video on this channel before, but I never showed off how I set up my own Fedora workflow, if you know what I mean. So you're going to see firsthand how I get Fedora set up and what tools I use to get it up and running. You're going to be seeing some of my setup and how I set Fedora up. Now, do I recommend Fedora for brand new to Linux users? No, I don't. It's not. It's not that I don't feel it's suitable. It's just that it doesn't hold your hand. But for experienced Linux users, yeah, Fedora is pretty good. But if you're looking on a brand new user to Linux, I simply recommend Linux Mint. I certainly don't recommend Ubuntu 24.04 anymore. What with them finally ditching the Ubiquity installer. And we're getting a new release of Fedora tomorrow anyway, last I heard. If all goes according to plan, Fedora 40 will be the next release of Fedora, and then we can start using Fedora properly. But as it stands, we're going to be installing Fedora 39 on this Acer Aspire 5, no questions asked, and let's get to it. So the tool I use to create bootable USBs is the Chromebook recovery utility. Now you're probably wondering, but in this tool for recovering Chromebooks, yes it is, but it can also make bootable USBs. Excuse the mess, my desk is a mess. I'm sorry about this. I'm going to have to sort this all out off camera, so be right back.
Pause, stop, pause.
Sorry about that, I'm clearly not in a good organisation for setup, but we're not here to watch me ramble about. We're here to get Fedora up and running, so I'm looking for that USB stick I've somehow, there it is. And we're going to put it in my Mac, and I'm going to show you how I get my Fedora install up and running. I'm going to show you what I install. You may need them, you know, just in case you want to do a Fedora install similar to mine, but you don't want to copy you don't have to copy my setup. This is how I do things. But these steps might help you, not just in Fedora, but other Linux distributions. So let's get sorted. So I've got a Fedora ISO already, so we don't need to cover downloading the ISO. You should know how to download Fedora by now. But I never covered showing how the Chromebook recovery utility can create bootable USBs on this channel.
Google Chrome list.
And it can. So
Close tab.
I'm going to go ahead and show you how this works. So we're going to go ahead and
Git recovery extension tool. Giggle McDimple recovery extension tool.
I've got the tool pinned.
Left curly bracket. Left curly bracket.
So we're going to go ahead and
Menu pop up collapsed. Erase. Use local image.
Use local image.
Chrome is not responding. In open dialog column view. Chromius _15 Debian 12 Fedora mate _compis live out can't open. Closing
Of
dialog.
course, I'm using the Mate spin.
USB SanDisk free menu pop
Go
up.
for the USB SanDisk, which is my USB stick.
Leaving. Go back. Continue. Chromebook recover.
Click continue.
End pass heading import all end dot put create go back create now
And
button.
click create now.
Chromebook recovery
And
password.
it's going to ask for my password, so I have to type that in.
Chromebook recovery utility.
And then we wait. So Fedora has it's about to be installed to the flash drive, which is a good thing because that's what we want to do. And if you're doing this on a Chromebook, you're going to need to rename. You're going to have to change the file extension to .bin. You can't do ISO files on Chrome OS, but on Windows and Mac you can, and on Chrome OS Flex. As far as I know, you can do it on Chrome OS Flex. But on the Chromebook running Chrome OS, you can't, unfortunately. But don't be too bad. but you can still create bootable USB sticks. You just got to go through an additional step. On Windows and Mac, you can just use the image as it is, as an ISO file, since the Chromebook recovery utility is smart enough to realize that you're using an ISO file and you might want to install it on a PC and not a Chromebook. Even though this tool is intended to be a Chromebook recovery tool and a Chrome OS Flex download tool, it's nice to know that this little known feature of the utility can create USB sticks. And that's a lot better than using something like Berliner Etcher, which is full of ads, and I don't recommend Berliner Etcher anymore to anyone. I recommend Rufus on Windows, the Chrome OS utility, recovery utility on any other platform, and the tools provided by your distribution for creating USB sticks with Linux on them. You know, like Chromebook, not Chromebook, Mint Stick on Linux Mint, Startup Disk Creator on Ubuntu, Unetbootin if you can get it working with Orca, Universal Linux USB installer, Multi-Writer. There's all sorts of options available for you if you don't want to use Berliner Etcher. But for Windows users, either the Chrome OS recovery utility or Rufus. Don't use Etcher. I mean, I've stopped using it altogether. So we're waiting for Fedora. Now, because I'm still in the recovery utility, I can go and navigate to the progress bar.
Article. You can remove your recover. Heading level 1.
Oh, look at that!
Success.
It's already done.
You can remove list 2 items. Bullet to recover your Chromebook. Bullet after recovery. End on. Footer. OK. Button. Recovery extension tool. Menu pop-up button. New tab. Google Chrome. Window.
And now I'm going to shut the computer down. We've currently got Ubuntu 24.04 on it from the last video. But I've decided it's not worth trying out the new Ubuntu. Especially since a new version of Fedora is on the horizon. And I like Fedora. I love it a lot. Fedora is one of those distros when I look at it and think, Red Hat did something amazing and they made Fedora, so yeah. Well, actually they sponsor Fedora, but Red Hat is doing a lot better than Canonical when it comes to accessibility. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves set up here. I need to make sure that my keyboard is in front of me. My desk is a mess, I'm sorry about this. But with the limited resources that I have available to me, it's how it is. Anyway, I should have room to type. And my computer is indeed booting from the Fedora image. You may be able to hear the fan. I'm going to have to keep mashing enter. And the fan is slowing down as the image boots. Now, I recommend getting an app open on your phone ready so that you can read the screen. We're going to be installing Fedora, start to finish, and I'm going to be showing you my Fedora setup. So we wait for a bit. Now, if you use VLC on full volume on Fedora, I recommend Fedora if you use that, because the RPM Fusion VLC doesn't get all distortion when you turn the volume up on your computer. So we're going to wait for a bit. I don't need to use the app. I'm experienced with Linux enough to know that I can turn on Orca when I'm ready and when I feel like the system has had time to boot up. On Fedora, we don't do Alt Super / Windows S. We do Alt F2 and type Orca, and then we wait. Now this may not be on fully yet. This may not be fully set up. But once it's set up, we can get started. I'm looking forward to Fedora 40 because we're getting the latest stuff, Orca 46, already 1 week before the Ubuntu. And I'm pretty sure that Fedora will be sticking with their Anaconda installer. They always have. Fedora, even though it's known for being an innovative Linux distribution and adding new features ahead of everyone else, of all the times I've tested Fedora, it's never changed. And Fedora's just been a reliable distribution for me. Anyway, let's try turning on Orca again. We weren't ready to boot up. We weren't ready yet, but now I think we are. I don't know what's taking it so long. Oh, there we go. Screen reader is on. I can hear it. You won't be able to just yet because I've not turned the volume up on the computer. Luckily my computer's got volume keys. I don't have to do what I did back in Ubuntu. So
left button, pen, left desktop, left control.
We're going to want to set this up the way we want to.
Screen tab. Keep progress rail up, beep up the space.
Beep updates.
Check, left red speak, keep general. Voice tab. Voice speech system colon, speech synthesizer colon, combo box. Default synthesizer.
I don't know why Fedora's decided to do this.
Language colon, combo box, left control.
But I guess Fedora's Fedora.
Speech. eSpeak-ng-m bro.
I want to use eSpeak. It's eSpeak-ng.
Language colon. N-029 N-DB. Let's speak voice OK push button.
Click OK.
Return. Screen reader desktop. Icon view.
Let me turn my actual speakers up so that you can hear what's going on.
Computer icon.
Now, I know it's tempted to click that install icon, but we've got something else we need to do. Now, you could go ahead and connect to the internet, but for me, I don't need to. I'm going to go ahead and go into
left
my
applicate accept capcom disks.
Reader
desktop disks frame. Tree table. A panel.
A
menu tab. Disk HFM5 tab. Menu toggle return. Format disk. Return. Format disk dialog. Erase combo box. Don't overwrite existing data left.
Hang on a sec.
Screen tab. General pet. Voice speak braille echo tab space then echo OK return. Screen reader settings format disk dialog. Erase combo box. Don't overwrite existing data left click right paren.
Again, that's another thing I forgot to do. Turn off punctuation.
OK push general. Voice speech enable vermos enable speech OK push screen reader settings reloaded. Erase partitioning erase combo box. Don't override existing data. That's what you want. Partitioning combo box. Compatible with modern systems and hard disks 2 TB GPT.
This makes partitioning super easy.
Compatible with all systems. No partitioning empty.
No partitioning empty.
Cancel format. Push button.
I wonder if I could use this to install Void at some point. I wonder. Anyway, let's not dilly-dally. Let's get this formatted and then we can get the installation up and running.
Alert information. Are you sure? Format push button.
Click format.
Disk frame.
Give it a few more minutes before we go ahead and format. Now, while this is running Linux kernel 6.8, eventually, I recommend you stick to a more stable kernel. So I'm going to install the 6.1 kernel and I'm going to show you how to do that because it's pretty easy to do, especially with a tool that's available in a repo for Fedora only. And while 6.1, I recommend this because Debian is using it and it's well tested and it's supported for another few years yet anyway. Kernel long-term 6.1. So this has had time to format our disk. We should exit this and begin the installation of Fedora.
Desktop. Computer. Line use install to hard drive desktop entry.
Install to hard drive.
Desktop. Install to hard drive desktop entry.
Now, Anaconda will be unfocused when you launch it. So give it some time to focus on its own. But if enough time has...
Anaconda
there
installer
we go.
frame. Welcome panel. Fedora 39 installation. Welcome to Fedora 39. What language would you like to use during the installation process? Text. Type here to search. Locales. Languages. Table with 73 rows 2 columns. English. Locales. Table with 18 rows 1 column. English United States.
We want UK. If
English United King.
There we go, United Kingdom.
Text. Type here to search. Quit push continue push
I'm
button.
going to click continue.
Warning, please complete items marked with this icon before continuing to the next step.
Right, now's where the fun stuff begins.
Installation summary panel. Fedora 39 installation. We won't touch your disks until you click begin installation. Please complete items marked with this icon before continuing to the next step. Keyboard. English UK.
Yep, our keyboard is correct.
Installation destination.
Now this is the hardest part of the installation. And this is why I recommend using the disk formatter tool so that it makes this a lot easier. And I've done that. I mean, the partitioning tool on Fedora has never been that good to begin with, but the GNOME disk utility always has. So let's click enter on the installation destination.
Installation destination panel. Fedora 39 installation 1 disk selected. 476.94 GB capacity held. HFM5 add specialized storage option. Free up space by removing or shrinking existing partitions. Checkbox not. Encrypt my data checkbox not checked.
Encrypt my data? Nope, we don't want to do that.
Full disk summary and bootloader. Push button.
Full disk summary and bootloader.
Refresh. Push done push button.
Click done.
Warning, please complete items marked with this icon before continuing to the next step.
Our partitioning is done. The reason I chose not to encrypt my disk, this computer never goes anywhere else.
Installation summary panel. Fedora 39 installation. We won't touch your disks until you click begin installation. Please complete items marked with this icon before continuing to the next step. Held. Push button.
We've got other stuff we need to be doing.
Keyboard. English UK.
Our keyboard's done.
Installation destination.
Installation destination is done.
Root account.
Now you can have a root account if you want, but for most people I recommend not having the root account enabled and instead just having your user become an administrator with the sudo command.
Time date. Europe London time.
And our time zone is correct. We're not connected to the internet, by the way, but we will be able to once we boot into the live system or back into our fully installed system.
Network host name unknown.
Network and host name. There's no host name. We're going to set this up.
Network host name panel. Fedora 39 installation. Please use the live desktop environment tools for customizing your network configuration. You can set the host name here. Current host name. Done push button.
Current host name. We're going to want to
apply push host held. Host name text.
I'm going to call this Fedora. Why not?
Fedora.
Nothing else to do.
Apply push button. Done push button.
Click done.
War installation summary panel. Fedora 39 user creation.
I'm going to create my user account.
Create user panel. Fedora 39 installation. Full name text. Jordan. Username text. Jordan selected.
Yep.
Add administrative privileges to this user account. Wheel group membership. Checkbox checked. Allow this user to run the sudo command.
This is already checked for us. We don't need to do that. I don't think it'll disallow you to uncheck. I mean, if you were, then you'd have no ability to use something like DNF to install things. You won't be able to install software because you're not in the administrators group.
Require a password to use this account. Checkbox checked.
That's checked. You definitely want a password for the admin account, because if you end up getting infected with malware, then that will be your first line of defense, because it would need authentication. And because Linux doesn't set you up as an administrator by default, like Windows does, you're much safer here on Linux, and you're safer on Linux now than you ever were, thanks to the quick detection of the XZ backdoor. That never made it into any stable distributions. That package was downgraded immediately when the backdoor was discovered. So it only affected distributions that were not ready for release, that were in their unstable stage, like Fedora 40 was. But they've likely downgraded XZ, and which is a good thing, because we don't want that version of XZ in our Linux distribution, do we? Anyway, where was I?
Password text.
There we go, typing in our password.
Warning the pass. Confirm password text. Advanced push button.
Click advanced. We don't need to do that. This is if you want to add users to certain groups. I know how to do this on my own, so I'm not going to do that.
Done push button.
And click done.
Installation summary panel. Fedora 39 installation. We won't touch your disks until you click begin installation. User creation.
And now you may be able to see, if you're following along with me, hey, I'm a poet and I don't even know it. You may be able to see now that the begin installation button is now available for you. It's no longer blocked, so you can go ahead and install. It's no longer disabled, so you can go ahead and start installation.
Quit push. Begin installation push.
Begin installation.
0%.
Now, what I recommend you do right now is go get yourself a cup of tea or coffee, maybe even a few snacks to eat, and come back when you're ready, and we're going to be doing, and I'm going to be setting this up. You may want to pause. But while this is installing, I'm going to let my PSR 8000 keyboard here play you off with... this place is a mess. I should really get this cleaned up. I'm going to let the PSR 8000 play you off with some demo songs while this installs. So you'll have some background music courtesy of the my keyboard here. And I'm using a floppy disk. Well, a virtual floppy disk. It helps if I was on the selection.
I'm reminding you, a broken mind.
Window. Anaconda installer frame. Screen reader off.
Okay, guys, we are almost done. And just turn on Orca.
Screen reader on. Anaconda installer frame.
Now, this is finalizing our installation. Now, it's normal for the screen reader to turn itself off.
40%.
Just turn it back on again and you will still be back up and running. That was because the screen reader was being installed to our Fedora installation. But we don't need to wait any longer. Now, we have a few minutes to spare before the installation. But
47%.
Oh, that was
100%.
That was quick. And now,
Installation progress panel. Fedora 39 installation. Fedora is now successfully installed and ready for you to use. Go ahead and reboot to start using it. Help.
love the enthusiasm.
Continue push
I'm
button.
going to click continue.
Desktop. Install.
Now, it's not going to restart for you. You're going to have to do it manually. So, we go ahead and shut down our computer.
Application. Exit. Shut down. Alert. Alert. Shut cancel. Shut down push.
And now I can go ahead and remove my Fedora pen drive because I'm not going to be needing it anymore. I'm going to be using it to install macOS Sonoma here on this Mac. Yep, my 2017 iMac can run macOS Sonoma. Yes, I found a way of getting macOS Sonoma on my unsupported iMac. Anyway, let's go ahead and boot into Fedora, which is waiting for us to start using it. So now my computer is booting up. Now again, you're going to have to manually enable Orca. But I've got good news. Unlike Ubuntu Mate, the login screen is accessible because Fedora knowingly supports accessibility. They've got an installation thing in the docs, their official Fedora docs. Anyone can contribute to those. I wonder if I should start doing that for the perfect accessible Fedora setup. But then again, they don't have to use my setup. Now, you don't have to use the accessibility values setup provided by the Fedora docs. I'm going to show you one that works for all users on the computer. So I am going to make sure I can turn on Orca. I should be able to right now. This will be a train wreck if this doesn't work.
Screen reader on. Login screen frame.
Yep, and we do have accessibility.
Audit.
So I type in my password I set during the installation.
Enter password.
Oh, this always has to happen, doesn't it? Hopefully we're not in a login loop. And no, we're not. Nothing is happening, but we've been logged in. So we're going to go ahead and turn Orca back on, and I'm going to have to set things up again.
Screen reader on. Left control.
So our settings weren't saved, unfortunately.
Screen reader left tab. Keep up progress trail up deep space.
So I'm going to have to. Well, first I need to turn up my computer again to the max volume.
Tab 3 general page tab. Left OK push general page tab. Keyboard progress trail up deep updates checkbox ticked.
That's checked. Good thing it is too.
Left rail speak keep general page. Voice page tab. Voice type speech synthesizer colon. Combo box. Speech system colon. Combo box. Speech dispatcher.
Speech system. Keep it as it is.
Speech synthesizer colon. Left control.
Speech synthesizer.
eSpeak dash ng.
We're going to be doing what we did back in the installation.
Left speak voice OK cancel voice page speech page tab. Enable not enable speech braille echo pay task space enable echo OK push button return screen reader set desktop icon view.
Now we're up and running. However, I'm not connected to the internet, so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Now, of course, if you watched my Ubuntu Mate 24.04 video 2 days ago, I believe it was, then you'll know how to do this, but this is a recap. There's two ways of doing this. You can use NM2TUI if you're in the terminal, but the terminal can be a bit spammy, so I'm going to be doing it the proper way.
Bottom top panel,
and that is with our good friend, the Mate menu bar.
Panel notification, Bessie Linux troubleshooter. Blue man push, no network connection.
Here we go, no network connection. We can just simply tab to this.
Available net menu, BT2Q, BT9P menu. Available network menu, BT9P, BTW45. Wi-Fi net. Show password 10. Show cancel connect. Desktop. Icon view. Notification connection established. You are now connected to the Wi-Fi network BTW45N dot.
Now that I'm set up, I'm going to pause the video because I've got to install updates, and I don't want you guys to be seeing this because there's over 700 different updates. Fedora doesn't update its installation media, which they should be doing. I'm sorry, Fedora team, but you should be updating your installation media regularly, like Fedora 39.1, Fedora 39.2. This installation media is from, November of 2023? I'm going to go ahead and turn the speakers down because we got other things to be doing. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video recording.
Toggle mic, pause recording.
By the power of the pause button, you didn't have to see me upgrading my system. There were 700 packages that needed to be upgraded. Now I'm going to go ahead and reboot.
Reboot. Sudo password.
So that the updates can take effect. I recommend you do that regardless of what Linux distribution you're using, because You know what? This ISO, I'm telling you, it's what? It was modified in November of 2023, so it wouldn't have had any. There would have been a lot of updates to Fedora 39 since then. And because I enabled Orca on the login screen, it's going to do that for me already, so I don't need to do anything else. So I am going to wait for Orca to get enabled, which is what we always do. My login screen's extremely quiet. Now you'll notice we still haven't got Orca to respond to us when we, set it up.
Desktop.
But I'm going to show you all.
Notification USE Linux.
I'm going to go show you all the important setup steps that you need to do now. So I'm going to
Application. Accessories. System administration menu. Refer into look other menu. Also other personal menu. About assisted technologies.
Assistive technologies.
Assisted technologies preferences dialog. Preferred application enable assisted technologies checkbox not ticked.
Enable assistive technologies.
Keyboard accessory.
Now we're going to show you the packages I installed, but it won't work though. It won't help you because you might not need some of the packages that I install. I mean, I need OwnCloud. Not everyone's going to need it, so I'm going to scrap that idea and just do a recommended Fedora 39 setup.
Mouse keyboard accessibility push button.
Keyboard accessibility.
Mouse key enable assisted technologies checkbox ticked. Keep mouse help push close and lock close push button. Preferred application.
Go to preferred applications.
Preferred application visual panel. Orca screen reader combo box. Orca run at start checkbox not ticked.
Run at start.
Ticked.
We definitely want Orca to run at startup.
Mobility panel run at start checkbox not ticked.
Run at start. We don't need all of that.
Help close push.
We just need to run
Assist.
Orca.
Enable keyboard mouse help close and log
And
out.
click close and log out.
Alert. Can log out. Beam reader off.
This allows you to test that your changes are working. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Screen reader on.
And look at that, Orca is turned on for us. Now, there are a few more things that you're going to want to do.
Notification USE Linux security of desktop.
First, we need to set accessibility variables. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I'm going to open a terminal.
Run application. Selection delete. Desk terminal frame. Jordan Fedora.
And we're going to be using an app called Pluma, which is part of the Mate desktop. So we do sudo Pluma
Pluma
/etc /environment.
environment.
Now this file isn't present in Fedora like it is on other distributions, but the clever thing is it's going to create that file for you.
Sudo password for
And this is where your accessibility values are going to be set.
environment, etc. Pluma.
And as you can see, the file is completely blank. We're going to export this one value to the system. Now, you can turn on caps lock for this. Capital
Environment, etc. Pluma. Capital A.
all caps accessibility.
Capital C. Capital Y.
Underline,
Line.
which
Accessibility.
is shift and dash enable.
Capital D.
And we're going to click equals.
Enabled. 1.
And I click the 1. And then we save.
File menu. New. Save Control S.
Click save.
An environment page tab.
And this will save it in our /etc directory. Because we ran the command as root, we're allowed to run this.
Terminal frame.
And now we're going to go ahead and reboot the system once more. And from this moment on, accessibility applications that are officially supported by Orca will work, including Chromium and all other applications. But you're probably asking now, aren't you going to set us up on a kernel now? And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now you've got plenty of options here. I'm going to be using the 6.1 kernel, but you can use whatever kernel you want. I don't recommend using the one provided by Fedora, because Fedora gives you a rolling kernel. You want a stable kernel because, let's say your system doesn't boot, you won't be able to get back into Fedora. We're going to set up a reliable. Now that we're set up, we're going to set up a reliable kernel, and to do that, we're going to be using a handy tool provided by QuizArt. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. Marte Terminal. Well, it helps if I'm going to go ahead and install on cloud anyway, because I've got the RPM Fusion files in there. So yeah.
Toggle microphone mute. Pause recording.
So I'm going to have to pause recording again.
Pause.
So I went ahead and installed OnCloud anyway because I've got the RPM Fusion files already in there, so they're going to download when we need them. The tool that we need definitely requires us to have RPM Fusion installed, and since we're installing that anyway, we might as well install it before we install the tool from that repository that we were going to enable before I realised that we needed to turn on RPM Fusion. Now, if you're using Alma Linux, then I don't recommend you even attempt to enable the repo because it was designed specifically to work with Fedora only. And there are RPM Fusions for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9, which is the base for the current version of Alma Linux. So we're going to go ahead and wait. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my OnCloud directory.
Desktop. Icon computer in Ike. Jordan. Desktop how you go arch packet very fancy talk.
And none of the files have downloaded yet, just the folders. Since they're the smallest ones. The smaller files download first and they get put in the folders, their appropriate place. So it's going to take a while for the So in the meantime, I'll hand you back over to the Yamaha PSR 8000, and this time you're going to be hearing some more songs from the floppy disk.
Arch packages folder, not selected. Notification sync activity menu packages experimental Ubuntu wallpapers damage 24.04.2 all them and 278 other 9s have been added. Application sync activity Debian packages experimental Ubuntu wallpapers Damit 24.04.2 all them and 278 other files have been added.
So as you heard, Orca reminded us that everything is available to us right now, and I'm going to double check that.
Debian activity magic resort stores Tom 103 or Alabama and pay capture hidden London you know or owl preference R1 mid R5 mid RPM Fusion non-free release Sales RPM Fusion free.
And yet, both RPM Fusion files are ready for us. These are RPM files. So I'm going to...
Own Cloud Terminal threat.
I don't think the Cardjet Open Terminal app is installed for us, the extension. So I'm going to check that.
Yes.
What I'd normally do is...
Go
to my own cloud. And then right click
Menu
it.
to open in terminal.
Oh look at that, it is.
Cool. Terminal frame. Northern Fedora. Own Cloud.
At least they give us a full Mate desktop. Anyway, so
This is a reminder.
the
Waggle Gecko.
the RPM files that are in this folder are going to be installed along with any dependencies that it relies on. And I'm going to install a few other stuff while I'm at it, so that I can show you that the accessibility values that we exported earlier worked. Because if you try and run an older version of Chromium, or Electron in this case as well, it's not going to be recognized by Orca. That's why you need to export those values for it to work. So I'm using Chromium Ghost, which is Chromium that supports the Ghost encryption module. So yeah. Anyway, I do also have Google Chrome as well, but that's for testing to see if a long-standing bug from March 2022 has been fixed, and unfortunately it hasn't. But it will be. I'm going to make sure it gets fixed. Even if it means I have to keep an eye on the Chromium bug tracker, which hasn't been updated since the last time we updated it. Enough of me rambling on, let's get ourselves set up then. So we should be in the terminal, so we just run the pwd command. And yep, we are in my own cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and sudo apt. Now add the /app. This tells DNF to install from your any locally installed packages. So star.rpm.
Sudo password for Northern.
And I'm going to type my password.
Sudo apt command.
Well, that's for spending too much time in Debian. I did apt. Let's try that again. Sudo dnf
install
/star.rpm. Why did I choose to use apt? I'm not in Debian.
Last metadata expiration check. 02656 ago on web 70 APRA 2024 11 022 BST. Dependencies resolved. Package arch version repository size installing. RPM Fusion free release launch 39-1 command line 11k RPM Fusion not.
Yeah, these are getting installed.
Downloading packages. Running transaction check succeeded. Running transaction test succeeded. Running transaction. Preparing 1-1. Installing RPM Fusion non-free release 39-1 launch 1-2 installing RPM Fusion free release 39-1 launch 2-2 installing RPM Fusion free release 39-1 launch 2-2 verifying RPM Fusion free release. Now
RPM is set up. We're going to go ahead and install. I'm going to install both VLC and its Fluid Synth plugin.
Install svmsc plugn Fluid Synth RPM Fusion for Fedora BS0B:beta.
And as you can hear, it's downloading the repository metadata for RPM Fusion.
Downloading packages BS0B:beta. 152, SDL image 1, 0. 252, SDL image 1.2.12-34 FC39X86 64 RPM 276 KBS 44 KB 0003-452, Fluid Sound 0650, 5.8 MBS 125, 5.8 MBS 126 MB 002, 5.8 MBS 128, 95.8 MBS 1. Key imported successfully. Running transaction check. Transaction.
Now that the keys have been imported successfully,
3.4.
I'm going to show you how we can get ourselves set up properly. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install my locally installed RPMs. I just want to make sure I want to make sure I've got everything. Not the wastebasket. That's for being too quick. On cloud. Fedora RPM files. You want to find me on RS Games, look for Fandy Dandy. That's my username on RS Games.
Gmail desktop, Google SND sound SN.
I'm going to delete
sound theme vocal 1.
I'm going to get rid of the sound font because it's old.
Can delete.
Old as gold.
Icon view 0. Free Gmail, Google Sound, Trisk Ubuntu.
I'm going to go ahead and install these. So I'm going to go ahead into my... Now that's the problem with Karja in this version of Orca, is it doesn't read everything. This has been fixed in the latest version of Orca though. That's why I can't wait for the latest version of Fedora, which is releasing tomorrow. I'm excited for, as you can tell, Fedora is one of my favourite distributions of Linux.
Open in terminal.
Open in terminal.
Own terminal frame. Northern Fedora. Own cloud Fedora RPM files $. Northern Fedora. Own cloud Fedora.
Now, interesting fact, I do actually own a Fedora. If you don't know what a Fedora is, it's some type of hat. I wear it on gigs when I'm gigging out as a musician. Anyway, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and install these.
Install.
Why did I type apt?
Install.
Good thing I realised that before I executed the command.
/
I'll be using sudo for no reason, but for but to be insulted by my computer. For I can imagine it saying, "You're using the wrong command. My grandma can type better than you," and something like that. You can actually get you can get Linux to do that, you know. You can get it to insult you if you type in the wrong command. It's kind of funny. I've seen some distributions do that. So if you type the wrong password, it would say, maybe you shouldn't have set a complicated password then. Or if you type the wrong command, it would say, did they teach you how to use Linux in school? Or something like that. Those are an example of some insults that the insult package, that is the insult binary, that is, can actually generate if you do things wrong in the terminal. It's kind of funny. Don't feel offended. It's a Linux Easter egg. It's not just a Linux Easter egg, but it's a Unix Easter egg as well, I think. I don't know if macOS can do it, but I know that some various Linux distributions can. I know that Slint is set up to do that by default, which is kind of funny and hilarious. Right, let's get back to what we were doing before I was rambling. Sudo apt. And there we go again, using apt. I should stop using Debian-based distributions permanently and just start moving to Fedora. You can tell I've spent too much time in Ubuntu, so I'm going to go, let's try this again.
sudo dnf dnf install.
I do this more often than not. Once I used EOPKG from Solus in Fedora, and it didn't work.
*rpm.
So I'm going to install the packages that I use
Sudo password for Dawn.
on a daily basis,
Last metadata expiration check.
and these should install.
Downloading packages. BS0B:*beta. Liberation fonts 2.10. Total 11 KBS 7.5 KB 000. Running transaction check. Transaction check.
Now you're going to hear the name of the
Running
packages I've
transaction
chosen.
Test. Transaction test succeeded. Running transaction. Preparing. 1.1. Installing. Chromium DOS stable 98.018. equals 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 equals
I knew it would do this.
Whack.
DNS probably one of the worst package managers when it comes to spammy output. apt used to be like that, but then they changed it in Orca, thank the Lord, so that it doesn't generate loads of hash signs like it used to do. Oh, those were the days when I started using Linux. Wow. Hopefully the new DNF, which is coming in Fedora 41, which is scheduled for release this October, or if all goes to go according to plan, or maybe in November. And now we're good to go. Let me see if our access. Well, actually, no. Before we go. Let's do that. Let's make sure that works.
Internet Chromium DOS. Fire
Chromium DOS.
Application U-Tab Chromium DOS frame.
And it does indeed work with Orca.
Terminal.
If we didn't set that accessibility value earlier, it wouldn't have worked. Now we can go ahead and install the app we're going to use to get a much more stable kernel. And we're going to install the Linux kernel 6.1 because I don't recommend using the 6.8 kernel from Fedora because it's going to be replaced with a rolling kernel. And if you want a rolling kernel and you've got the latest hardware, then you can skip this step. But if you're on a system like mine, which is from 2020, you'll want a stable kernel. So we're going to go follow these exactly.
S.
For those that have a system that requires a much more stable kernel. Sudo DNF copper COPR
copper
enable
with
apt
W
that's not a good demonstration. Enable K W I Z A R T /fede
FEDY edit enabling a copper repository. Please note that this repository is not part of the main distribution and quality may vary. The Fedora project does not exercise any power over the contents of this repository beyond the rules outlined in the copper FAQ at https://.pagorg copper user documentation HTML. What I can build in copper and packages are not held to any quality or security level. Please do not file bug reports about these packages in Fedora Bugzilla. In case of problems, contact the owner of this repository. Do you really want to enable copper Fedora infracloud.org quiz at Fedi? YN.
Click yes.
Y. Repository successfully enabled. Jordan Fedora.
And now we should be able to install Fede, which will FEDY, which we're going to call it. I don't like how it's pronounced, but that's how Orca says it. And what this is going to do is tweak our Fedora system and give us, you can install apps with this. So if you want Microsoft Edge, you can install Microsoft Edge. If you want some NVIDIA drivers, you can get them installed. If you want the latest long-term stability kernel, you can get that. 6.8 is currently an LTS kernel, but of course we're running off of the rolling release kernel. And now what was I going to do? I've lost my bearings again. That's it. We're going to get the package installed. We get this installed, and then we can
edit copper repo for Fedio BS0B : eta 101.5 kbs 1.5 kb 000 Google Chrome BS0B : eta total download size 5.5 M installed size 16 M. Is this okay? YN downloading packages BS0B : eta 13.
I think it would help me if I upgraded Google Chrome, don't you?
Is this okay? YN successfully.
There we go.
Key imported successfully. Running transaction check. Transaction check succeeded. Running transaction.
Now, whenever you add a new repo, it's going to ask if you want to import the GPG key. If you trust it. And that's a good thing. apt doesn't do that, and I think it should. That's why I think Fedora is the new Ubuntu. Fedora is doing what Ubuntu used to do. Fedora is more desktop orientated, and that's a good thing. And because Red Hat is doing more for Linux than Canonical is, Fedora is a well-liked distribution. So now that we've got Fedi installed, you can launch this from the graphical user interface, or you can do it from the terminal. I'm going to do it from the graphical user interface because I think we've had enough playing in the terminal for now. Let's close out that terminal because we're not going to be needing the terminal for a little bit yet.
Own cloud threat.
I'm going to close that.
Waste basket.
Close the recycle bin. Close my other terminal. Close my file manager. Close another terminal. Close OwnCloud.
Own cloud threat.
I'm very disorganized. I keep things open and don't close them.
Desktop. Jordan.
Right.
Desktop. Jordan.
Yeah, it should be saying desktop. We've got nothing else open, so now we can go ahead and do what we were doing.
Application.
Opening Fedi.
Scan this and blank edit. Then applications frame. List with 62 items. One password proprietary.
Look at all these you can install. One password.
Alacrity of AnyDesk. Azure Cloud with blanket mode.
Now, AnyDesk isn't accessible, by the way, so if you do use remote desktop, I thank Jude Dashiel. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but blame eloquence.
Blue Jeans proprietary.
For giving me a heads up on that.
Blank Blue Jeans.
Blue Jeans.
Brave browser.
Brave. If you want Brave, go ahead and install it.
Crow Translate.
Got Crow Translate.
DB with Docker. Docker.
You got Docker. You got Dropbox.
Drop Element Desktop.
Element Desktop.
Firewalk Commercial. Firefox Developer.
Firefox Developer Edition.
40 Client Proprietary Endpoint Protection Suite from Fortinet. Live MIT Live Google Chrome.
Got Google Chrome.
Google Earth Chrome.
Google Pro.
Google Hangouts. Google Play Music. Google Web Designer. Handbrake in Sync. Mailstring GP. Microsoft Edge.
Got Microsoft Edge.
Mix CK Malvat VPN. NeoMut GP. Shell MIT.
Oh, you can install Malware VPN this time.
OneDrive GNU. Only Office VPN.
Only Office.
Opera Proprietary.
Opera.
Photo Flex Meet. Proton VPN. Quilter GN Rambox. Resiliosis. Signal Best. Simplenote. Skype and Web Slack Proprietary. Spotify Proprietary. Steam Proprietary. Synology Drive. Sync Thing. Tailscale. TDIF GP. Team Viewer. Teams for Linux. Telegram. Deepton Photos. Viber and VirtualBox. Guest Geek. VirtualBox. Vivaldi Proprietary. WPS Office. Weimar MIT White. GPN Zoom. Pamix. Yarn BSD2. Yarn BSD2 clause license. Yarn is a modern package manager split into various packages for Node.js. Not selected. Install push start.
Oh, you can install. This is new.
Install pump. Install Zoom. Install
I'm
push
going to go
start.
ahead
One
and go back to the top.
Find utility tweaks. Not
What you actually want is drivers.
theme drivers. Not
And
selected.
click drivers.
Selected. Theme tweaks utility. Find top list with 90. Broadcom 8. Broadcom
If you got a Broadcom card,
DVB firm Fuse X Intel Legacy Market Driver Intel Nvidia GP Nvidia Surface Kernel GPL Kernel Long Term 5.15 Kernel Long Term 6.1 GPL V2 Kernel Long Term Support 6.1 Not selected.
so
Install
this
push
is
button.
Kernel 6.1.
Kernel Long Term 6.1 Install
I'm gonna
push
click
button.
install.
Working or password detailed password frame.
And we should get a complete message. Now, once we've installed the new kernel, we're going to want to restart our system and verify that we're using the new kernel, because it'll be set as the default kernel once we reboot. And you can also choose which kernel you'd like to boot into, by the way, as well. So that's another nice feature. And we're going to want to set VLC up while we're at it. And once we're all done, well, once we've verified that we've got the kernel long term, we're going to check if our accessibility values still work again. Is this done yet?
List with find toggle bar utility. Find list install push button. Broadcom 8 broad DB fuse into envid circuit kernel long term 5 kernel long term 6 kernel long term 6.6 GPL V2 kernel long term support 6.6 not selected. Install push button. Notification task completed. Kernel long term 6.1 install successfully completed.
Now we're going to reboot our system.
Applications message shutdown. Alert can restart.
Reboot. Once we've verified that we're running the right kernel, we're going to check if our Chromium is accessible still, because I know changing it's worth doing so. Might help out a lot. Now I don't know how we remove. I don't know if we can remove our old kernel, but I reckon it's worth having it around. But we should be using the 6.1 kernel when this comes back up again. Oh, what a surprise, it's not working. And that's the main problem with Fedora, is because it prioritizes the latest stuff, problems like this can happen. And that's why I recommend keeping that other kernel around. I mean, we can always install another kernel. Yeah, we're not getting anywhere with this. 6.1, pretty good kernel, but it doesn't appear to be working. In that case, we're going to have to install the 6.6 kernel instead. Now can I go back to using the standard Fedora kernel? We've got a problem. Turns out this system doesn't like the long-term 6.1 kernel. Now I should have gone back to the usable kernel. I'm going to pause this until I can figure out what's wrong.
Toggle micro. Pause recording. Button. Press search plus. Pause.
Okay, I am back. We are back inside Linux 6.8. I managed to get booted back into that kernel because I don't think we ran the grub configuration scripts. I think there's something wrong with that kernel that we were trying to boot into. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to try and install another kernel just to be on the safe side. But we're going to see if we can get 6.1 booted up again, if we can. But if not, we're going to uninstall that and scrap that idea.
Zip shutdown. Zip alert can be start push button.
So I'm going to try that again. Although maybe Fedora will probably boot back into that other kernel that we tried to install. But we don't just have 6.1, we can also install 6.6 if we need to, because that's also an LTS. And as you can tell, we are indeed
Screen reader on.
working. Are we running
Run
that old kernel?
6 desk terminal. You have 6 not 8 not 6 hash 2.
Yeah, we're still on 6.8. In that case, I'm going to install 6.6. I recommend having plenty of kernels installed.
Sudo edy sudo pass. Edit loading frame list with install one find utility tweak theme drivers. Selected theme tweaks utility find list with Broadcom blue Broadcom DB fuse Intel Legos Intel NV surface kernel long term 5.15 GPL v2 kernel long term 6.1 G kernel Mesa free world kernel long term 6.6 GPL v2 kernel long term support 6.6 not select install working.
Now we're going to want to run the. I think
notification task completed. Kernel long-term 6.6 install successfully completed.
I think what we need to do is run the grub configuration files.
New install push new mode mesa kernel log surface kernel gp install push nvidia let install nvidia fuse install dbb broad find utilities tweaks.
Go back to
selected
tweaks.
utility find list with a throttle down touchpad permissive run to configure push
Configure grub.
Notification task completed. Run to configuration config.
And now we try and restart.
Shut now. Assist alert. Can't restart.
If we can get a response from kernel 6.6, that will be the kernel to use. And that's why it's a good idea to have multiple kernels installed on your system. I can't stress this enough. So we should have kernel 6.6 ready for us. Well, it would help if I knew what I was doing. There's me being silly. This might just boot us back into that other kernel.
Screen reader on.
Let's see
Run
what kernel we are on. Yeah, this is booted back into 6.8. Let's see if we can get one of the other kernels to boot.
Toggle my pause.
So I'm going to pause. I'll be right back. Well, it looks like I can only boot into 6.8. But that's a good thing, because 6.8 is a long-term kernel. If anyone knows how I can get those other kernels up and running, then let me know. But it looks like those other kernels don't seem to work. But the 6.8 one does, so that'll be good for me anyway. Let's see if our Chromium works. Yes, it does. We're all ready to go. So that is how to get a simple Fedora setup up and running. Now, like I said, if you can get that old kernel working, or whatever kernel you chose to install in there working, then please let me know in the comments on how to set it as the default. Because it doesn't look like those kernels from that same repo are actually booting. But they're there just in case I need them. And it's a good idea to keep your old kernels and have multiple kernels ready when you need them, because eventually what's going to happen is you'll update the kernel and you'll find that it's not bootable. Luckily though, Fedora keeps your old kernel, so say you were using let's say 6.9 comes out and you update that and it doesn't boot. You can go back to 6.8, which will be supported for a long time anyway because it's an LTS kernel. The only thing I don't like about this kernel is that I keep getting buzzing in my speakers. That's the only problem. So let's see if VLC Media Player actually works. In fact, what I suggest you do is if you play MIDI files,
Terminal.
get the fluid sound font off the system. So sudo dnf auto remove fluid. Well, actually no. Install a different sound font first. Sudo dnf install personal. That's the one. We want to install that.
Last downloading packet.
This is
3.0
this is the default Fedora sound font.
4.1 MBS 17 MB 001 77 4.2 MBS 19 84 4.3 MBS 21 MB 000 91 4.4 MBS 23 9 4.5 MBS 25 personal copyright sound font. Wash.
So auto remove the old sound font. Fluid sound font.
No match for R. On G M3.1 dash dependencies resolved. Package arch version repositories running transaction removed. Fluid sound font common 3.1.
And now, if we try, let's make sure VLC can play midis.
Concordance doma. Desktop can you don't text. Resort magic MIDI 2000. Cheer. Shiny cheer. Alert question. Additional soft.
Oh, of course, Parole is installed.
Magic mid.
That's an XFCE app.
Terminal.
Let's uninstall that.
Remove PR. Parole 4.18.
That's the one.
No match for R. Remove P.
Let's try that again.
4.18. Dependencies resolved. Running transaction check. Transaction check succeeded. Running transaction test. Running transaction preparing. 1.1. Preparing.
And now let's try this again, shall we?
Magic
And this time they'll open in VLC.
Cheerful. Privacy and net content. Cheerful.
And now that works, look at that.
Magic MIDI get text.
Either this sound font's quiet, or VLC has patched the volume issue where it gets all distortion. Let's try do I have any?
Resources, Ring 03 line Miss 1, this old 1, Silver 1, RPM 2, RP, Arch, Debian, Login, IEFO, Magic Resources, Scores, Talk, Tom 1, Hammer 1, WAV Audio, Avignon 1, Beethoven 1, Cassiopeia, Choco 21, Gig Disc, Cassiopeia.
Yeah, this is the max volume for VLC and there's no distortion. This is how other operating systems do it.
Cassiopeia 2.
That's a recording of one of the Casio demo songs, Polka from the Baltic Bride even. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the kernel, but whatever it is, hey, it's nice to see it's there. I think this is either... Well, actually, this hasn't got anything to do with kernel 6.8 actually, because Ubuntu's kernel. That lets you have VLC at max volume and gets all distortion, so yeah. Not what you want to be seeing. If you install VLC in a... If you use VLC in different containers, something like that, yeah, that's going to be a problem. Because your distro box containers are going to share the same settings and you'll probably have issues. As far as I know anyway. If you want to know how to set up DistroBox, let me know. Anyway, that's Fedora. One last thing we're going to do.
Top pack. Assist preference into look at the Kernel main pop-up screensaver.
And go to the screensaver.
Assist screensaver without the Compute 100 active locked screen default PNL power manager.
Power manager.
Actions panel. Put never when laptop shut down.
Shut down.
Display panel. Put display to sleep whenever.
Never.
Set display. Dim display. Set display brightness to Horizontal slider 100.
100.
100. Dim display when idle check help. Close push button. Screen set read. Classic.
And we're done. That is a fully set up Fedora system. I'm sorry we couldn't get those other kernels booted, but that is one of the reasons I don't recommend Fedora for absolute new users. It's because it's not using an LTS kernel. The kernel is always rolling. Now I don't know if it's possible to reinstall any of the older kernels that you had previously, but I know you can use something like 6.0. Now, for the buzzing sound in my speakers, that's pretty simple. You just unplug them and plug them back in again, and that gets rid of it. So, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, because that is how we do things around here. So, if you have any questions about Fedora or any other accessible distribution, or if you like I said in the last video, if you want me to install a Linux distribution that you know is accessible and that I've not tried, please let me know, because I'm documenting these distributions for people who want to use Linux. And we are slowly approaching Windows 10's EOL date anyway, so running Linux is a must. There's also Chrome OS Flex for an old computer that can't run Linux. Anyway, and while you're at it, make sure that you are subscribed so that you never miss any content. You can do so while watching this at any time by clicking the subscribe button and then clicking the bell next to it, so that you never miss any future content in your notifications. You'll be notified on every single upload when you push that bell. So, I would like to thank you very much for watching this and staying around. I'm pretty much ready to set this up with my data now, so that I can start using this Fedora. And so thank you very much for watching. I'm going to let my trusty Yamaha PSR 8000 play you out with the final song. Actually, I'm going to pick a random song. Let's pick a random one.
26 new emails.
My new emails. You.com. Sparklefield.com.
Well, that, my friends, I'm sorry. Before I was rudely interrupted by a piece of spam that made it into my email inbox, had to deal with a bit of spam. I were going to end the video in style, like I normally do, by letting the Yamaha PSR 8000 serenade you. So that's better than being interrupted by a piece of spam while you're trying to record. Couldn't get Do Not Disturb working. So I'm going to pick a song. I'm going to go for let's go for my favourite one. Here we go. Another down on this keyboard's dodgy. Anyway, I'm going to let the Yamaha PSR 8000 play you out with one of the built-in demo songs. This is Jordan signing off, saying have a good day everyone.
Stop record.
That was an installation of Fedora and my recommended setup.
Email. 17 more emails. Screen off.